Guess which country is the world's top oil producer? Saudi Arabia? Iraq? Iran? None of the above. With 13 million barrels a day, the leader is the United States. This recent milestone is one reason why oil prices have been falling. The U.S. is buying less because it's producing more. It's all thanks to fracking. What is fracking? It's a technique to extract oil and gas from previously unreachable places. A quick geology recap. Oil is stored in rock formations. Some have pores or cracks that let oil flow. Others don't, which used to be a problem. But with fracking, we can now extract oil from those too. It's easier to understand through pressure. Oil is a fluid trapped under millions of tons of earth. When we drill to that depth, it's like opening a shaken bottle of soda. The oil wants to rush up the pipe because the pressure pushes it. But this depends on having a path, meaning the rock formations must have connected pores or cracks. Without a connection, the pipe is useless because the oil remains trapped. Well, it turns out we can now fracture rocks to create our own cracks. That is fracking, formerly called hydraulic fracturing. The fracturing part is clear, and it's hydraulic because we use pressurized water and sand. But the story doesn't end there. To reach the oil, we drill 2 kilometers down and 3 kilometers sideways. The pipe is so long that friction causes the injected water to lose power as it travels. The solution is mixing water and sand with chemicals to lubricate the pipe and combat friction. But that cocktail is an environmental risk, which is why fracking is so controversial. To be clear, conventional wells aren't eco-friendly either, but fracking is worse. We are essentially contaminating vast amounts of water to break rocks. And much of that wastewater returns to the surface even dirtier because those rocks contain heavy metals and radioactive compounds. The contamination is so severe that treating the water to make it drinkable is no longer possible. In other words, that water is lost forever. So what happens to the wastewater? Usually they bury it deep underground, the industrial equivalent of sweeping dirt under the rug. But there is a problem, or rather several. It turns out there are underground drinking water reserves. And if fracking wastewater mixes with them, we face a massive ecological disaster. Of course, the oil industry and regulators take many precautions to ensure this does not happen. For example, wells have cement linings and additional piping designed to prevent contaminated water from leaking into other areas. The question is whether these measures are enough. This is particularly relevant in many regions where regulations are based on U.S. studies. While local geology is different and poorly understood, while U.S. groundwater reserves rarely exceed 400 meters in depth, in other regions, we are already extracting drinking water at 500 meters. That difference makes 2 of the 3 fracking problems more alarming. Problem 1, the cracks caused by this technique spread through the subsoil in unpredictable ways. This means we run the risk of connecting oil deposits and contaminated water with other water sources. Problem 2, the casing or protective pipe layer only reaches a certain depth, meaning contaminated water can leak out from below. And problem 3, the casing is a temporary fix. We don't know what happens after years of structural wear, and there are already cases of wells where wastewater has begun to leak. As a side note, there has been talk about fracking's link to increased tremors, though it is argued that in the few cases where it occurs, the magnitudes are negligible. Now, having said that, it is important to know there are over 1 million fracking wells worldwide, and that data is very telling. It tells us that the negative consequences of fracking can theoretically be controlled, at least in the short term. It also speaks to the leading role of oil in the economy. 1 million wells are boosting global reserves, and the number is growing, which brings us back to local concerns. A nation that relies heavily on the oil industry, yet has only explored 9 zones so far this year because oil prices dropped, leading to a decline in investments. For better or worse, this is an industry we belong to, and we have to make decisions. It is clearly a cost-benefit problem. Is it worth risking the weakening of the oil sector, or conversely, is it worth assuming the risks of fracking? The answer is not easy, and we don't claim to have it, but one final point. Since fracking is much costlier, oil prices are low and the industry is currently struggling. They're discussing tax breaks for fracking, meaning the country would earn less revenue using this method than with traditional drilling. So once again, is it worth it?